This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Russia may be forced to throttle back its oil output in the coming months as U.S. sanctions hamper its access to tankers to sail to Asia and Ukrainian drone attacks hobble its refineries. The United States imposed sanctions last month that targeted 180 Russian tankers, while Kyiv has stepped up drone attacks to improve its bargaining position amid expectations that U.S. President Donald Trump will press Russian leader Vladimir Putin to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. Trump has said stopping the conflict is a priority and that he could impose new sanctions on Russia if his goals are not achieved.
U.S. crude oil inventories rose last week as refinery maintenance continued, while gasoline stockpiles posted a surprise draw, the Energy Information Administration, EIA, said on Wednesday. Crude inventories rose by 4.1 million barrels to 427.9 million barrels in the week ended February 7, the EIA said, compared with analysts' expectations in a Reuters poll for a 3 million barrel rise. Crude stocks at the Cushing, Oklahoma, delivery hub rose by 872,000 barrels last week, the EIA said. Crude prices gave up some earlier losses following the report. Global benchmark Brent futures were trading $1.28 lower at $75.74 a barrel by 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1600 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures were down $1.30 at $72.03.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Europe's gas and energy trading industries have urged the European Union not to cap gas prices, as Brussels seeks ways to protect consumers and businesses from energy price spikes. The European Commission is preparing a package of measures, due to be proposed on February 26, to improve industry's competitive edge and help bring down energy prices. Benchmark European gas prices rose this week to a two-year high of €58 per megawatt-hour, MWH, boosted by cold weather and depleting gas storage tanks. That has added to concerns about the higher energy prices European firms face, compared with competitors in the US and China.
The amount of Russian and Iranian oil held on ships has hit multi-month highs as harsher U.S. sanctions reduced the number of buyers, leaving fewer tankers available to deliver cargoes and driving up crude costs, trade sources and analysts said. Washington has imposed multiple rounds of sanctions on ships and entities dealing with oil from Iran and Russia since October, disrupting trade with major importers China and India. U.S. President Donald Trump last week restored his maximum pressure campaign on Iran that includes efforts to drive its oil exports down to zero in order to stop Tehran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Next, we have the top news in India's finished steel imports rose to an all-time high in the first 10 months of the financial year that started in April, according to provisional government data reviewed by Reuters on Thursday. India, the world's second biggest crude steel producer, imported 8.3 million metric tons of finished steel during April to January, up 20.3% from a year earlier, the data showed. India remained a net importer during the period, the data showed. India turned net importer of steel in the 2023-24 fiscal year, with imports rising steadily since then and primarily led by China.
China's Iron and Steel Association said the 25% tariff increase on all steel and aluminum exports to the United States would have an adverse impact on the supply chain of the global steel industry, including China's steel industry, state broadcaster China Central Television reported on Thursday. U.S. President Donald Trump substantially raised tariffs on steel and aluminum imports on Monday to a flat 25%, without exceptions or exemptions, in a move he hopes will aid the struggling industry in the United States but which also risks sparking a multi-front trade war. In the short term, the impact on China's steel exports is limited. However, in the long run, the United States may drive other countries to follow suit, thereby reducing the competitiveness of China's steel exports, the association said.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Indonesia plans to import around 200,000 metric tons of raw sugar to top up government's food reserve as white sugar prices have climbed in the domestic market ahead of Ramadan, the National Food Agency said on Thursday. The government has estimated domestic white sugar output at 2.6 million tons this year and demand at 2.84 million tons. Indonesia had white sugar stocks of 842,000 tons in early February. We want to raise the government stock level. It is not because of production shortage, said National Food Agency Chief Arif Prasetya Adi said in a statement.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.